Hundreds of emails from Jeffrey Epstein's personal account are shedding new light on his relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. The emails reviewed by Bloomberg contain mentions of Donald Trump and others, including a 2006 exchange where the convicted sex trafficker told Maxwell to, quote, remove Trump after Maxwell asked him to review a list of high-powered people. Other emails detail lavish gifts, some worth tens of thousands of dollars, sent to Epstein's associates. MSNBC has not obtained or verified the emails. Bloomberg says they vetted them through cryptographic and metadata analysis, as well as corroboration with external sources. Joining us now, senior reporter for The Bulwark, Will Sommer, senior writer for Wired and author of the Inner Loop newsletter, Jake LaHutte, and Lisa Rubin, who is back with us. So, Lisa, what can you tell us about this Bloomberg reporting and these emails?
Well, I think the most important takeaway from this, Katie, is this is the first reporting that demonstrates how Ghislaine Maxwell was not telling Todd Blanche the complete truth, right? She described herself as having a much diminished role around Jeffrey Epstein after 2003. But as Bloomberg reports in one of the most memorable lines of their reporting, the emails that they collected, and there were 18,000 of them, show that Epstein and Maxwell, just through one account owned by Jeffrey Epstein, a Yahoo account, exchanged at least 203 messages during the first 6 months of 2008 at a rate of more than one a day. And we know that Jeffrey Epstein used multiple other email accounts. How do we know that? Because in litigation that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were part of, where they were sued by victims or victims sued other institutions, we've seen those emails. We've also seen some of those emails, for example, through the New York Times reporting about Jeffrey Epstein's relationship with J.P. Morgan. So the very volume of communications between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, as well as the substance, put the lie to her assertion that she was a non-entity in Jeffrey Epstein's world by the period of time that prosecutors have largely focused on.
I want to ask about the gifts, Will, to other big-name people that have come up in these emails. And I'll read a little bit more from the Bloomberg piece. The emails include a spreadsheet itemizing nearly 2,000 gifts, luxury items and payments totaling $1.8 million, with notations indicating they were intended for Epstein's friends, business associates, and victims. The spreadsheet, which was created by one of Epstein's accountants, includes a $35,000 watch that was earmarked for a former Bill Clinton aide, a $71,000 purchase at a Lexus dealership for one of Epstein's lawyers, and other items, such as lingerie and chocolates, some for teenage girls who later lodged sexual abuse complaints against Epstein and Maxwell. The spreadsheet indicates that Maxwell helped Epstein arrange many of the items. It doesn't specify whether the intended recipients were ever offered or actually accepted the gifts. I can't think of a scenario where, you're gifting people this much money. It's unusual.
It's bizarre. I mean, I think this is obviously a big scoop in terms of this cache of emails. And it's just a reminder of how well connected Jeffrey Epstein was. And as you said, I mean, I think all of the unanswered questions that still surround him and the people he knew and his activities. And I think, again, that gets at why so many people in the public want answers here, why they expected the Trump administration to investigate further, as they promised repeatedly that they would, and then why it's been so jarring that the administration is trying to move on from this so abruptly. I mean, you mentioned, again, we got another reminder here of Trump's relationship with Epstein, I mean, being mentioned in this email by Epstein, although it's not clear in what context. So again, I mean, it's something that raises more questions.
Let me read the part about Donald Trump from the report as well. Trump's name surfaced again around the time Epstein was making an intense back-channel lobbying effort to get federal prosecutors to drop their case against him. It was an email dated August 23, 2007, a month before Epstein signed the non-prosecution agreement with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Florida that ended the federal component of the Epstein investigation. The emails indicate that Maxwell may have been referring to a team of reporters covering Epstein who she expected would be seeking information from Trump. And the quote from the email from Maxwell to Epstein says, "You have to assume they went to Donald Trump, then Gossman, the docs in WPB, Pashow, etc." Can you help me understand what any of that means, Jake?
That was the really confusing thing about, one, a lot of these emails had the initial incoming deleted and then only the sent email in response. I also do want to give a shout out to Dhruv Mehrotra, who broke the missing minutes story for us at Wired before joining the evil empire at Bloomberg. But the weird thing I've noticed about the fallout from the story and kind of the lack of response from the White House is that, they gave a quippy comment saying this is yet another fake news story. But I think the walls are really starting to close in terms of the actual consequences that we're seeing from this. The U.S. ambassador, the UK's ambassador for us fired over this.
Yep.
And at this point, what else could come? What other troves of documents are out there? Those are huge unanswered questions.
So, Jake, can you give me a little bit more about the significance of what you just said? Losing the ambassador, the UK ambassador to the US, it's significant because he was known as something of a Trump whisperer. Why was he taken out of that position? What relationship did he have with Epstein that made him so controversial over in the UK?
Yeah, I think the new revelations with Mandelson were that he had been speaking with Epstein far longer after he had initially sort of tried to spin his relationship with him before all these. Likewise, the timeline of Ghislaine Maxwell's relationship with Epstein is very complicated by these emails. And the one weird little tidbit I heard from a Trump advisor this must be now 2 months back, was they said there are international considerations for how they're handling the messaging and information on that case. And the way I read that was someone like a Prince Andrew. There are other international figures where the Trump administration is spread across all these fronts, trying to do tariff deals, trying to end wars. And it's not just his reputation in the mix, but also all these relations with our key allies.
Lisa?
I want to say something more about Peter Mandelson because I think it goes back to the birthday book as well. Peter Mandelson is someone who has a submission in that birthday book. He is pictured in his own submission in the birthday book. And Peter Mandelson has a long-term partner, a male partner, but nonetheless is making a reference to the quote-unquote interesting guests at Little Jeff Island. He has a picture of himself with two women whose faces are blocked out. And he's joking around about the fact that Jeffrey Epstein was known to sort of flit here and there and everywhere. So you could be staying on the island and Jeffrey Epstein would disappear and you would be left alone with his, quote, interesting guest. That's Peter Mandelson's own words. So Peter Mandelson is sort of indicating in his birthday book submission that even if he didn't know that these women were underage, he was well aware of Jeffrey Epstein's sexual proclivities and at the very least, the fact that he preferred young girls.